can't be talking about Kardashian workouts off camera.
Yeah, we started shooting the shit before recording, and we're like, we should just fucking record this. I don't know why we're not.
I'm here today for my fabulous workout, and it's like half squats into a medicine ball or whatever the things are called. But rolling off of it like you do like when you're at PF and you have all the balls together, you just shoot across all of them.
It's so weird. And I've seen clips of it, and like in one aspect, I'm like, you know what? If it works for them, it gives them the body image that they've had this whole time, sure. But at the same time, if they're getting trained by someone, which is what I think is happening, like they don't know any better. You know, this trainer is supposedly probably really expensive, and he's having them do these fucking whack ass workouts. You know, like if I was paying out the ass, I'd be like, this has got to be proven. This has got to be like effective.
But that's because you've got like an actual fitness mindset. They're just like, I want to get my butt like Kim's.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just they don't need any more than what they're getting. They don't need to learn any more about it. So they just do what the trainer says, and they think, okay, it works for me. But I bet you they've been doing the same shit for 10 years, have made no progress, you know, and they're just getting milked for every penny.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And plus, they're in LA. That kind of answers the question. There's you're going to be at like a 10 to 90 percentile of good, like people who know what they're talking about in, you know, Hollywood compared to, you know, any of the gym staples of the world, you know?
Yeah. There's a clip recently where it was like, it's talking about chicks being in the gym for 3 months and being like, buy my booty, build their workout or something like that. And it was just like these half-ass like leg lifts for the cable machine from the side. I don't even know what to call them. They're kind of like lateral raises. Yeah, they're kind of like lateral raises. So they have like the cable attached to their ankle, and they're like, it's basically just working your abductor.
I was gonna say that's an unnecessary abductor movement.
You
go on the machine like everyone else.
Yeah, a lot of women do it because they prefer it, and I don't know, but.
Well, you know why you prefer it? Because you can cheat when you do it like that. You can swing your momentum and you can cheat on it.
Yeah, I mean...
The machine for the abductor where you're opening, you're screaming in pain the whole way through. Adductors where you're going in, you can cheat on that even on the machine. But going out, there's far fewer ways to cheat on that machine.
Yeah, I mean, with the one good advantage, I guess, with the cables is that you could... get a better stretch out of it, because you could stretch your abductor as far as you could possibly go, where you can't do that with the machine. But my other problem with the machine is that it's either too heavy or too light. There's no in between with the machine. Like I have to do typically full stack for like 10 to 12 reps, and that's going like as far as my hips can allow. But at the same time, it's like I want more, but I also want less, you know? Yeah. It's a weird machine as far as like the way at least my body works. But I don't know, to each their own. I went to the gym the other day, and these two chicks were there. I didn't pay any attention to them until I like put down.
What? They were chicks, bro. You didn't text me.
Oh no, muscle mommies. No, but they were at the gym, and I put down my bag at the leg extension machine, and nothing was at the leg extension machine. So nobody was using it. Nothing was there. So I went over, put my bag down. And this girl goes over to me. She goes, hey, we got 2 more sets. I was like, okay. So I was going to superset anyway. So I just like, all right, whatever. I'll just start with the other movement first. And then I'll give that a couple sets. So about 2 sets in, they only hit 1 set. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to end up fucking waiting forever for this, aren't I? And then they walk over, do something else. And they go superset it with like fucking pull-ups or whatever. Because they're doing like leg day, but also back day for some reason. I don't know. And I'm doing my 3rd set. It was actually abductors. It was abductors and leg extensions. And I was still my 3rd set of my 4 sets of my abductor movement. And I'm like, they haven't come back over for the 2nd set. I'm just going to go do it.
Yeah.
And I just went over and started using it. I'm like, I'm not going to wait any longer. Like I'm done 3 sets over here. Like this is the problem with supersetting when you're with someone. It takes longer. So I'm just not going to wait. I'm going to end up waiting all day. So I just went over and used it, and then they walked away. But
I think it also has to do with intensity, because no one's training in the gym harder than you and I. So like our sets, not that they go quicker, but comparatively to someone who's doing like a, regular set, we're probably outpacing them. So there has to, like, you're beating them time wise anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it was just something I had to deal with. I was just, normally I wouldn't do something like that, but I'm like, I've waited extra long rests between sets and did 3 sets, and you still haven't come back over for your second set. So I was like, I'm just going to go use it. If they were like, they used it and then, they came back a couple minutes later or whatever, and then they started using it, it took them a while to finish up the second set, then sure, but they weren't even close. Didn't even come back.
Yeah.
I started using it and I never saw them like use the machine again. So that was really annoying. But the reason we talked about the Kardashians is because you said, yeah, which is like what like Courtney says. They're like, oh, you're a vegan? She's like, yeah. Yeah. Like, that's just, I don't know why. Yeah. It's like, yeah. I don't know why she does that shit. But you said something about your muscle mommy drink. You're like, yeah.
Yeah. I have my, my oats all blended up.
What's in there?
So my morning is always a cup of oats with a scoop of protein and just some water and heat it up. Like that's every morning. And on days where I don't have the time to actually eat it, like preparing it's not to the time I'm worried about. It's actually eating it because it's dry. I have to drink a lot of water with it. And it takes a lot on my system to get it down. I just blend it together. And when I blend it, I use milk instead of water to get extra calories in there. And it just goes down a lot easier. But the one downside is that when I drink my food, I don't feel as fulfilled, and I want to eat more. I mean, that's not a bad thing for me because I'm trying to put on more. But I notice that when I drink it, it's not, my body's not registering it as much as it should be,
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's also kind of like I guess a way to trick your body, kind of like sometimes I'm like hungry and I'll just drink my egg whites early. And I'm like, I know it's not like food that I'm chewing, but if I give it some time, it'll fill me up. And it does,
Yeah.
So if you need to just get some food into your system real quick, drinking it does help.
Yeah, I blended a ham the other day. No, I'm kidding.
Imagine. I wonder what the consistency of that would be.
We have at the house. My roommate. His mom gave him a ham when he moved in, and it's been in the freezer ever since. So I joke about it, but I'm gonna thaw that thing out and just blend it.
Yeah, why not eat it? Why haven't you guys eaten it yet?
Well, I mean, we all have, like, my girlfriend and I have specific meal plans, and he does. I mean, he cooks a lot of small meals. This is a whole ham we're talking about, so. Mm-hmm. It needs to be a family affair if we're going to cook this thing.
Gotcha. Yeah. I don't know how big the ham was. Usually people buy just half hams or something.
No, it's a good chunker.
Damn. I love hams. Ham's so good. Especially if you can cook it properly and make it nice and juicy. Shit's good. Yeah. With a lot of fat. Oh yeah. That's good.
Speaking of food though, I got a funny story to share with you. I got this kid that I teach, so he's in 8th grade, all right? And he's one of the most fit kids in the not just the grade, but like school. Like, he doesn't have as much size, but he's toned and he's strong, and he plays like every sport. So like, he's just like a really athletic kid, and he's got a build, and he's like, I want to be what was it? I forget what his weight is, but he wants to be 60 pounds higher by the end of the calendar year. I was like, that's ambitious, but all right, man. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to follow a bulk. And so he has his phone on him, and he has timers set every hour, and I'll be teaching, and we're in the middle of a book or whatever, and I hear, wah, wah, and he goes, yo, Mr. Noel, I got to eat. What do you got for me? And he just comes over and looks, because I've got food, because I'm doing the same thing. I'm eating throughout the day. And so now this kid, I'm bringing in like an extra sandwich every day, because this kid, I'm not going to tell him no, because I'm like, absolutely, I want you to bulk. And you're doing it the right way. Like, you're not eating giant meals. You're doing it dispersed throughout the day. You set timers. I'm like, yeah, bro, come on over. Have this peanut butter sandwich.
That's awesome. I wonder if he's going to be able to do it. I mean, he's going to have to eat a shit ton, most likely.
Well,
especially being like 13 or so, and probably skinny on the skinnier side.
Yep.
Is how a lot of those kids are who are athletic, you know.
He bugs everybody in the room, though. Like, there was one day where I didn't have food, and he stood over another kid till he got the kid's bag of Doritos. Like,
yeah, he can't be doing that. Just bring your own food.
Well, think about how expensive it is to eat. In 8th grade, to be eating something every hour.
Okay, but he could also. I mean, if you really wanted to do it, I was working under the table. I think at that age, so you could work under the table somewhere.
It's hard to do that with a lot of sports. So,
yeah, true. But, yeah. Speaking of food, Lee Priest, transition of the century.
Yeah,
yeah.
Did you say side?
Oh yeah, you saw that? Yeah. I didn't know where that was going. It was an anime, and she said something about side, and he's like, "Did you say side?" And it was like, "Side," and then it zoomed down, and he grew massive, ripped his clothes from just flexing, and then did a side chest, and I was like, "Wow, I love that."
Well, I
didn't see that coming.
She said, "I love that side of you." Side.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, he did the side chest. That's awesome. I had to set it over. I was still half asleep when I saw that shit. But no, I figured, today we could talk a bit about Lee Priest because he's been recently back in a little bit of a spotlight again. I mean, he's well known in the bodybuilding community. He's one of those people kind of in a similar light to Rich Piana, like he tells it how it is, and you either love it or you hate it. Some of his takes to me, I think, are a bit abrasive, but also a lot of it's pretty real. He has pretty good opinions. The one that I don't like that much is he absolutely fucking just shits on men's physique constantly. And I'm like, if you don't respect it, that's fine. But it's a couple times I've seen him talk about it, and I'm like, all right, you're just really going out of your way just to be mean about it.
Yeah.
But he's not making fun of anybody in particular. He just thinks the whole division's like a joke. Like that's what his opinion is, which is fair. I mean, that's his opinion. He's totally entitled to his opinion. It's just, I think sometimes he just goes a bit too far with how much he hates it. But to each their own. And Lee Priest, he competed for a very, very long time. I believe it was over 20 years.
It was
his first show was in 1986, and his last one was in 2013. So 25 years, quarter of a century he was competing for. And he did at least a couple shows a year, 2 to 3 shows a year, something like that. And that shit adds up, There's guys that I know that only hit one show every year or two. And by the time, I came along and met them, they're like, oh, I'm 10 shows in. I'm like, oh, that's a shit ton. But then I see something that Lee Priest was doing, 2 to 3 shows a year. Over the span of a few years, boom, you've already hit 10 shows. So it adds up real quick. But I mean, I do know guys who hit 6 shows last year alone. They just kept competing, trying to get that Olympia card, and it just never happened. So it's, it adds up. But the reason Lee Priest is back in the spotlight a little bit is because of Sam Sulik. Actually, he said, Sam said, he wanted to recreate the tricep photo that Lee Priest created with Tom Platz, and that's the photo in the background here. If you're watching the video format of our episode today, you could see a little bit of his tricep on the screen, and the top of his head and his eyes. But yeah, it's that photo, and people were kind of. I mean, for the most part, Sam's community is very, very positive. It's just kind of who he is as a person. He's just kind of a chill dude and just does his own thing, but. People were kind of supposedly, I didn't actually see it, but supposedly people were dogging on Sam for saying that he's similar to Lee Priest or trying to compare himself to Lee Priest. And Lee Priest came out in a video and he was just like, I don't know why Sam's getting so much hate for this. It's really not that deep. And he's just trying to recreate the photo. And he's like, and I've said this before, before recording this video, that if Sam just had some more size in his triceps and his forearms, then, and leaned out a bit more, then he'd be able to recreate the photo. He's like, but I don't know why he's getting so much hate for that. He's like, I don't understand. So that's why Lee Priest is in a bit of a spotlight now. And he's actually gotten interviewed. He was on He was on Fouad Abiad's podcast for, I forget, Hostile Nutrition or whatever, Hostile Supplements. That podcast, whatever. He just interviews people. He has like 4 or 5 people on at a time, and they just kind of shoot the shit. But he was on it, I think, a few days ago, probably because of something like this. And I think Sam was actually in the podcast episode too, because Sam is sponsored by Hostile. So I'm pretty sure Sam was in it too. I didn't watch it. I just saw it, and they ended up, they met for the first time and all that. But Lee Priest is kind of a freak of nature too. He was, I don't really know, what was his height? Like 5'4"? Mm-hmm. Let me see. His height was 5'4". Yeah, he was 5'4". Yeah.
5'4" and off-season 260.
His competition weight was between 196 and 205, depending on the show and all of that. But supposedly he had 22-inch arms on stage and 24-inch arms off-season, which is fucking crazy for 5'4". But it's also because him and someone, similar, Jay Cutler, really took the bulk to another level. Lee Priest bulked, and he was very much an advocate for dirty bulking. That's what worked for him. That's what worked for Jay. They just would get borderline fat. Like if you didn't know any better, if you didn't know what you're looking at, you'd see Lee as almost fat. But then he'd lean out for a show, and it would just fucking fall. All the fat would just fall off, and he'd be massive underneath all that. So him and Jay both really believed in a dirty bulk. Jay did kind of keep some definition, but it's also because like Jay's like 5'10" or 5'11" or something. And when you're as muscular as Jay, like it doesn't really matter how much fat you put on, you're always going to see a bit of your muscles, like he just has that much muscular size. Where with Lee being on the shorter side, if he puts on 50 pounds of weight in the off season, which is a lot, but let's say he puts on 50 pounds, it's going to be a lot more on Lee than it is on Jay. 50 pounds is a big difference in that height change. It's fucking huge. I mean, we're talking like Jay was probably like, I don't know, 260, 270 maybe on stage, maybe in that ballpark at minimum. Lee is like 200 on stage, so like height really does play a huge role when it comes to your overall size. So Lee was known for his dirty bulking, and then now he's known for his almost like Mike Tyson face tattoo and his straight up honest opinions on shit. So if you ever watch a video of his, like YouTube short or something like that, he'll tell you how the fuck it is. And he talks a lot about steroids and stuff like that too. And he trashes on guys who take a lot of steroids, and they get so upset about it in the comments. But he's like, he just never needed it. He never needed a shit ton of steroids. And he trashes on guys who do, because he's saying that he didn't need the genetic, or he had the genetics for it. And he thinks that if you don't have the genetics for it, you don't have the genetics for bodybuilding. Like shit like that, he's very frank about all of it.
Well, his thing with steroids is kind of interesting because of his path to pro bodybuilding, and like how he won the Australian the Mr. Australia at like 17, and he's got this great bodybuilding physique, but when he tried to go into the IFBB pro at the time, he was just getting beat out because the guys had all that extra size. So that's when eventually I'm getting the timeline mixed up because I don't have it right in front of me. But when he would eventually go over, he was like, well, if these guys are going to beat me with, 30, 40 plus pounds, I'm going to go, mess with them too. And, it's not an abusive cycle by any means, but certainly hopped on.
Yeah, I mean, what's also interesting that nobody takes into account too is that when it comes to anabolics and you're at a smaller height, smaller weight or lower weight and all of that, you don't need to nearly take as much in order to get an efficacious dose. Because let's say you pin, just for an easy number, let's say 1,000 milligrams or 1 gram. Let's say 1 gram a week. 1 gram on someone who's 200 pounds is a big difference between someone who's 300 pounds, So for him, taking less does actually like go further. Granted, you know, he was still taking a lot, especially for his height. He says it's low dose, but like he had this line. He was talking about how he said, let's say he took 250 sustodon, which is like direct testosterone suspension. It's just a form of testosterone, basically. He said he'd take 2 milliliters a week, which would be 500. And when he would take cypionate, so testosterone cypionate, which is a super fast half-life, he'd take 400. 500 sus and 400 sip, that's pretty high for someone at his height and his weight. I know guys who are on half that, and they're basically on anabolic, like solid anabolic levels. Jeez.
Every time we do the cast.
Dude, I know. I don't know why. It's when I'm talking in the morning, I always yawn. But like for me, when I was in prep, I was like no more than 300 milligrams a test during my prep, you know, and that's when you take the most amount of gear. Off season, I've taken more, but you know, for instance, during prep, I was taking 300, and that was prop, which is cypionate is a longer half-life. I got that backwards. Sorry. Sustodon is very fast. Cypionate is longer. Cypionate is a super long half-life. It's like 2 weeks or some shit. It's a super long half-life. I was thinking ACE. I was thinking acetate. That's my fault. I was thinking prop, testosterone propionate, which is a super fast half-life. That's like hours, borderline. That's why it's so good for prep, because when you basically stop taking it, only a few days after, it's like almost entirely out of your system. But cypionate takes forever. So cypionate, he took 400. Sustodon, he took 500, which makes sense, actually, now I think about it. But it's still a decent amount of gear. He said maybe one anabol a day, or Anadrol 50, so that's 50 milligrams. The Anadrol, which is about one pill, typically. He would take Clen or T3 before a contest. So I mean, that's all pretty standard. I mean, I've taken all of that except for D-ball. Anadrol is pretty sweet. In my first ever cycle, I ran Anadrol. It's pretty low. It's pretty mild. It's a pretty mild oral is what Anadrol is. A good starter point. This is the difference between men and women here for you. It's a good starter point for men outside of testosterone, but it's like the furthest you should go as a woman is Anadrol. Like our minimum is like their like top.
Well, it's because, you know, any anabolic taken as a lady is going to make you into a dude. So you want to keep your feminine side, so you stay away from that kind of stuff, you know?
I mean, they have like, there's a source, which actually I heard something about. I'm just going to say, so there's a source, one of my sources, he actually has, I don't know if it's a he or she or whoever, could be a group of people. I have no idea. Considering my knowledge of this person's grasp of the industry, especially now, holy shit. So I got a story for you. Especially now, he probably has, this is probably a team of people selling all these steroids and shipping them out and shit. And they've also been very fast because I pay by invoice, which is unique. Typically you pay like Venmo or Cash App or whatever, where it's like, you don't say what it is, you just send them the money. But them, it's an actual invoice. They send you an invoice, you go online, you pay it, and they send you a receipt. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, why am I paying a business? This is weird. But anyways, the point is, on the listing of their products, it actually says like female dose stuff, right? So it's like they get like Winstraw, for instance, right? They'll have like Winstraw, but it's a lower dose version. So it's like typically the same price per pill, which is how you buy it, but it's a lower dose. So that way they just take one pill instead of cutting it in half or something like that. So it would not make sense for me to buy it, but it makes sense for women to buy it. It's easier to take one pill that's dosed where it should be for them versus taking a higher dose and cutting it and potentially kind of messing with the dosage and stuff like that. But the story that reminded me of it was, I left the gym the other day. I had to turn back around and go back because I forgot my water bottle. When I got back, I saw someone there that I hadn't seen in a while. So I said, "Hey, what's up?" Started shooting shit. And he said, did you run out of gear at any point? And I was like, I haven't had the need to buy anything recently. I was like, I've been off for a while and I was like, I'm not really taking much besides just like stuff over the counter. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, I heard some guys nearby that, you know, a lot of guys actually that have run out of shit. And I've had a bunch of guys approach me and ask me, hey, do you got a source that I could use? Because, you know, my guy completely out, like blah, blah, blah. So supposedly actually what happened was I think the same guy that I sometimes go to, not all the time, but sometimes, they got robbed.
Oh, gee.
And apparently a ton of their shit was taken. But here's the funny thing too. So when it comes to anabolics, a lot of it is like, especially in the law enforcement world, a lot of it's don't ask, don't tell. A lot of cops are on gear. A lot of guys in the military are on gear. It's don't ask, don't tell. You kind of know, you know, if somebody's on gear, people who are bodybuilders and who are police officers, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like, just don't really openly talk about it. It'd be fine. Where it was like, oh yeah, so the only time that they really do actually care is if you're selling it. That's really the only time that they care. The DEA cares when you're selling it, especially in bulk, right? The only reason they ever cared about Courtney Bumstead, or not Courtney, Chris Bumstead's sister that got arrested, Ian Vair's wife, she got arrested because they did that controlled drop or whatever. The only reason they did that was because I believe is because Chris Bumstead's in Spotlight and like the whole family's in the Spotlight, right? Because they're big in the bodybuilding community and all that. So I think they only did that for the publicity's sake, because like it's such a stupid fucking thing to do, to go after someone who's like, even for Ian and Chris combined, it's still a drop in the bucket compared to what guys are selling. You know, like they're taking a lot theoretically, but it's not nearly as much as these guys have in stock and are selling on a regular basis. But so they care about the sellers, typically the suppliers, the dealers, all of that. And a lot of it comes from China. So it's kind of hard to regulate it coming into the US because it comes, you know, it's for clinics and whatnot. And you get your connection to clinics. It's a whole thing, you know. But I mean, what are you going to do? You get all of your gear stolen that you're selling. What are you going to do? You're going to call the cops? Oh, they took all my illegal steroids. It's like, that's why drug dealers get robbed all the time, is because they can't call the cops. There's nothing they can do. You know, you got robbed. They took your illegal shit. You're not going to report that they took your illegal shit because you had the illegal shit. You know,
or if there's a police intervention of some kind and that doesn't get reported because now it's in some policeman's, you know, locker, and they're going to pin after their shift.
Yeah, exactly. They confiscate it. They're like, I'm going to put this right in the evidence locker. Well, really, it's my locker. That's how Rodney Coleman was able to make it by financially. He just stole gear from people.
He robbed people.
He just robbed people of their gear.
That's our
bottles of Testament ticket.
That's our clickbait. Yeah, buddy. That's our clickbait title for today. Ronnie Coleman stole steroids.
Rodney Coleman stealing steroids on the force. I gotta look up Lee Priest's cycle.
Turns out the anabolic window wasn't about food; it was about actually getting stuff. This is your window of time.
It was his. It was in the window. Yeah, the window he had to eat. It was the window he had to shove it into his locker real quick. Let me see. I just gotta pull up YouTube in general.
Also, on the topic of Sam Sulek getting hate for recreating the pose, next time you're up or next time I'm down there, we're just gonna recreate all the different pictures. So we're gonna each do quad stomps. We're gonna each do the Lee Priest tricep. We'll do the we'll do like the C-bum with Hani next to him, side chest correction. We'll do all the different things.
Exactly. We would not be close to the size though. We'll be the size of that muscle that they're flexing.
We'll be bigger.
If you combine the both of us, we're like close.
We're gonna go on Rich Piana's. Yeah, I was taking 2 IUs of GH every hour.
I take it hourly. There's a clip of this guy recently. I don't even know what it was from, but he was like, "Yeah, I'm taking 3. What was he saying? 3 milliliters a day," and this guy was like, or 3 milliliters. He said he was taking 3 milliliters of test. And he's like, whoa. You could see it like zoom in. It was like a whole meme. It like zoomed in. This guy was like, wait, 3 milliliters a day or a week? And he goes, a day. And he goes, 3 milliliters of like just test. And he's like, yeah, I'll take 3 milliliters of test and 3 milliliters of Masteron. And he goes, I'm like, that's exactly my response. Like, let's say we're talking like the lowest dosage of test you could possibly get. Let's say like typically test prop is like pretty low. It's like 100 milligrams a milliliter, right? So typically you have to pin a few milliliters a week in order to get 300 milliliters. Like that's what I had to do, which sucked because I would have to pin like 2.5 milliliters in one syringe. You just fucking, it's like a bowling ball you're implanting in your butt cheek. But he did 3 milliliters supposedly a day of each, which is awful. That sounds terrible. He'd run out of places to pin. But I'm like, let's say you're talking the lowest amount. You're talking about 2 grams of test a week. I'm like, there's no fucking way, dude. He'd be dead. But also he was no bodybuilder that I knew. So he was never like at the top or even at the pro level, really. A lot of the time I know some of the pros, especially the ones that are doing decent. He was nowhere near that. So this guy, it was not worth it. It was however much he was taking was not worth it. But here, check this out. So this is Lee Priest's off season versus on season. Can I shut off the fucking sound?
Wherever top right, you can mute
there it is. Okay, there we go. All right. So that's his off season, right? Dirty bulk, like looks actually kind of fat. Like he looks muscular, but then look at his off season.
Yeah.
Dude's insane. Look at his hamstrings. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? This is before he got his face tat and shit. So like he looks not much definition. I mean, a lot of it, he's storing a lot of it in his back and in his legs. You can tell a lot of his fat's stored in his back and his legs. Then look at that. That's fucking crazy. Look at his hamstring. What the fuck is that, dude?
It's further than his glute.
That's insane. Like, that is absurd. Calves are solid. It's harder for him to build calves because he's shorter. So it's much harder for him to build, like, noticeable calves. The best calves in the world are all guys who are tall as shit. But his hams, that's fucking crazy. Let's see. 300 pounds. 225 competition weight, which supposedly isn't true. I guess like, I don't know if this is like inaccurate or something, but somewhere else said that it's anywhere from like 193 to 205, but let's just say 225. 300 in the off season for a guy this size. That's crazy.
Absurd.
I mean, you could tell, like, he's a super muscular dude. So you could tell.
Yeah.
Like look at his delts, dude. Like that alone is like absurd. And that's also anabolics there for you too. I mean, it's, your delts are super androgenic. So that's why like a lot of guys joke about taking gear just to get bigger delts because your delts literally blow the fuck up when you take gear. Say with your traps. A lot of time your traps also blow up too. That's why like your guys' traps get huge and swollen and they look crazy in the off season, especially because they're taking so much gear. But yeah, his delts look insane. Let's see, where is it? Where's the next part? Front squat.
You want to go back to the front squat?
I was about to say, like, I can't. It won't let me.
Oh,
rewind.
Okay. His hamstring in the front squat was absurd.
Yeah. He had like a 3-inch range of motion. Not much definition, but tons of size. Pretty big dude. Pushing around a lot of weight. Pretty young here too.
Yeah.
And he's also not on a shit ton of gear, but then look at his off season. Like, look at that. Like, borderline 8-pack. Like, that's crazy. And like no stretch skin or nothing, like it's a lot of water and a lot of fat, but it's not enough to like stretch his skin out by any means.
Yeah.
He would be like the perfect dude to do like that scorpion shit, whatever it's called. Oh, there it is. We're gonna say that'd be perfect for that. He's got the perfect build for it. Yep. But yeah, he's pretty crazy. Off season, that's just how he's always done it. Oh, that's sick. Why do they not make that anymore?
That looks like like a banded Smith machine.
Yeah, it's just a cabled Smith machine or something. That's sick. So you don't have to worry about it dropping on you.
Gotta wear the glasses too. Studious, man.
Yeah, you gotta look. It's studious. Studious. But yeah, he's also one of the guys who was like big in Venice Beach and shit. Supposedly the guy who ran or owned or something Gold's Gym in Venice was his only source of steroids. So like he would supply Lee with his steroids, and supposedly that he corroborated. He said that like Lee really wasn't on that much compared to everybody else. He's like, trust me, I would know. I was his only source. He's like, so believe me, like he was really not on that much. Which I mean, I can understand, but again, you got to take into account, like I've said a million times, his height and his size. But I mean, personally, yeah, supposedly there was rumors of this. Did he end up doing it? Yeah, I mean, he still has a lot of upper body size. His legs are a lot of it's missing, but I mean, he still looks crazy for his age. Like, that's crazy. I don't know how old he is, but he looks great.
I think he's late 40s. He's 74 is his. Hold on, I have it right here.
No way. Oh, 74 is when he's born, so he's 50?
72 is when he was born, so.
All right, so he's about 52. Turning 52 this year. All right. Yeah, he was a freak of nature. All right, now we're not even in.
Yeah, now we're in clickbait.
Lee Priest shit anymore. Yep. Anyways, so he's a really interesting dude to watch content from and to learn more about. He had really good genetics. Apparently Paul Dillett. Who's Paul Dillett? Am I thinking of somebody else?
Bob Dylan?
No, Paul Dillett. Okay, I know. No. Yeah, so Paul Dillett was the guy. I don't know. I guess Lee corroborated that Paul was just super into clean, which is true. I am super into clean. Paul Dillett super into clean. Yeah, he said he'd be sweating from the clen because he hated doing cardio, so he'd just take more clen. Is that a cardio session? He just takes more clen.
I am now going to subscribe to that mindset. Hey, I'm new into fitness, and cardio is really hard for me. What can I do? Meat sweats and cleanse sweats.
More clen. That's so dumb. It was the way I said it. It was he hated cardio, so he just took more clen. Which is, I mean, it's what it says. He said that Paul would be laying on the couch. He said, turn the air up because he's burning up. I'm assuming he's talking about the fan. He said he's sweating from the clen because he hated doing cardio. So he just take more clen. Which is weird because, I mean, for me, I mean, everybody reacts to it differently, but clen isn't what made me sweat. It was tren. Tren is what made me sweat. And, dude, I got reminded the other day, somebody said something about tren sweats, and I remembered oh, my gosh. That was the worst. I never got tren cough. Nothing like that. I never really had any, like, serious side effects, you know, some irritability from different shit, but, like, fucking tren sweats while sleeping. Every night I was drenched. No matter how hot or cold it was in the bedroom, I was drenched. I'd wake up and I'd literally take a towel sometimes and wipe the back of my head because I'd sleep on my back a lot of the time. And my head would be so wet from filling up my pillow with sweat. I'd have to just wipe off my head like I took a shower. It was crazy. I sweat so much.
Yeah.
And then that's what made me start sweating during the gym too. Like, I barely sweat prior to taking tren, and then I took tren, and I was just drenched every time I trained. Now I do cardio. Holy shit. Like, now that I push it in the gym now, and I do more cardio and all that, I've dropped a lot of weight, which is nice. Dropped a few pounds this past week, which is great. But now that I do a lot more cardio, and the cardio I do is pretty difficult, you know, Stairmaster or the bike or whatever, and I'm drenched. Like, I looked at like how much I was sweating. I didn't really I try to avoid rubbing shit off my face because you just kind of smear it a lot of the time, especially when you don't have like a t-shirt or something. Like I was just wearing a stringer and the stringer was already drenched. So if I just wiped, I just ended up smearing it and just made it like worse. But by the time I got off the Stairmaster, I looked at like my arms and shit and I was just covered. It was crazy. I was never like that before before trend, that is. But also DNP, there's also DNP too, which is we talked about it before. It's an ingredient that goes into I'm pretty sure it goes into plastic explosives. I'm pretty sure it's an ingredient in explosives.
Hate cardio, you're going to get explosive results.
Literally, though, that's actually what would happen. The women, so the factories that were making explosives back in the day, I don't know what it was. It might have been TNT. I don't think it's C4. I think it was TNT. They were making something, some sort of explosive, and a lot of it was women in the factory, and the women were losing a ton of weight, like almost like to the point of malnourishment, and they didn't know why. They're trying to figure out why, and come to find out, it was the DNP that they were inhaling, like secondary from making these explosives. So you can buy DNP. I think DNP is very hard to come by now. I want to say one of my sources has it. I could be wrong. I have to look. I want to say I saw it there. I know he has GHB, which is interesting, but DNP sells DNP, I think. And if you take DNP, your heart rate increases to like hit cardio level, like past steady state cardio. So steady state is like, for me, it's like 135 to 150. I'll probably approach it like 180 heartbeat with just taking DNP. So you like guys would take DNP and just sit there and just sweat it out until it's over, because it'll last like 3 hours, but it's like doing 3 hours of cardio almost, because your heart's beating that fast. So you're just shredding weight. But it is very dangerous. It's very dangerous to take. Much like halotestin is, there's a couple of these that I'm just like, I would never touch with a 10-foot pole. Halotestin, I'm curious how it affects me mentally, because that's what's the problem with halotestin. It's a great cutting agent, but they say if you take halotestin, you ruin relationships. But they also say that about Tren, and I took Tren,
and you were fine.
Yeah. So I don't know what would happen if I took halotestin. So that's something we got to figure out. But I don't think I ever will. There's no real need for me to ever take something like that. Same with like insulin and DNP and all that. All that shit's just like, it's just far and above and away from shit I got to take. I would ever need to take.
You gotta,
unless I work with Milo Sarkev.
You got to do the
make an exception.
You got to do the when you're at the soda machine at a fast food joint, a little bit of everything in one.
Yeah, it's just called Dr. Pepper with extra steps. I did that. I used to do that at Papagino's at your OG.
Yeah,
your OG workplace. I forgot that you were there for a while until I visited up north, and I was like, "Fuck, that's right. Stoph used to work there," which is now where the D'Angelo's is.
Well,
which is weird.
Papagino's and D'Angelo's is under the same name now, so.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, that's where D'Angelo's went. I knew they closed down the other spot.
They were sister companies, and then they merged to just locations.
That's smart. I miss Papagino's. It's pretty good.
Well, it's still there.
As far as chain goes, it's pretty good.
It's still
there. I know.
Yeah.
I just haven't had it.
Oh, yeah. I love it too, but it's
not
just
down here.
It's just more expensive than everything else, so I just never do it. And considerably more. Like the Domino's is the cheapest, and it's like I can get like 2 pizzas for like $12, and a large pizza from Papagino's with like one topping, like one pepperoni topping, is like fucking $18, something like that. So I can't justify it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, as far as chains go, I think it's pretty good. The place we go, so like what sucks down here, pizza, I think up north, I would probably say is on average quite a bit better than pizza down here. There's not many Italian places, and even then there's not many good Italian places. They're either super expensive and really good, or like garbage and cheap. There's no in between.
Yeah.
I've had good Italian, it's just expensive. But pizza, it's a lot of the chains. It's, Domino's, Papagino's. There's Pizza Hut with a drive-through right next to the gym. There's also, so it's Papa John's, Domino's, Pizza Hut, Oh, well, there's also Tony's. There's Marco's. Marco's Pizza is what Paige has been liking lately. But yeah, we go back and forth. And what sucks is with these chains, they're all fucking franchises. So like each one's a little different. And even then, like sometimes it's cooked differently each time. So like we went to, Paige likes cheesy bread, and sometimes she'll get like when she gets cheesy bread from different places. Sometimes she's in the mood for like stuffed crust, and not everybody has stuffed crust, so she gets Papa John's. She get like a small cheese pizza with mushrooms, and it's just stuffed crust. And one time it's like amazing. She like loves it. Can't wait to have more. Then the second time it's like she has one slice and she's like, "This is terrible. Why did what's going on?" It's so weird. It's so annoying. Even though it's from the same place, it could be great one day and shit the next. But that's also for food down here in general. Marco's is pretty good. Marco's is a chain that's pretty good. Same with Tony's. Tony's is pretty popular down here. I would say Marco's it's kind of like Papa John's, but better, in my opinion. That's kind of how I would place it.
Yeah.
Not many chains up north, though. There's only a few chains, but a lot of Italian places, a lot of smaller pizza chains or smaller pizza joints and stuff. So, but what's your opinion on Sorrento's?
Hate it.
No, not Sorrento. Sorry. I love Sorrento's, but what's your opinion on espressos?
That's why I knew you were going in. That I hate it. I hate it. Orange soda does not belong in.
My man.
I have died on this hill. I live in the Fitchburg, Westminster area, and I used to live within throwing a baseball's distance like to espressos.
Yeah,
and I have died on this hill. I will not eat it. I will not. I have tried it once. Where I went there with all the fellas. Went probably like 8 years ago. I went there. And that was the last time I ever stepped foot in there.
I don't know how their other food is, but when I was in high school, we were in shop. We would get it for like pizza parties and shit for whatever reason, like Christmas and, if we did some big project or whatever. But like I'd eat it if it's free, but I'm not going to buy Espresso's pizza. So for those that aren't familiar with the Fitchburg area, we have a lot of international listeners, not customers, listeners. The pizza here in the U.S., I'm sure, is very different, especially from Europe. And I can't wait to try true, actual pizza, at least from especially Italy. I know pizza isn't very big in Italy, but, I do want to try from there. Anyways, the point is, for some reason, everybody loves espressos in the Western County area for some reason. And the reason it's not good, in my opinion, pizza sauce or red sauce, whatever you want to call it, should not be overly sweet. It should be acidic, actually. You should use other ingredients, and pizza should not be sweet. It should be a dairy, cheesy, creamy, like acidic, garlicky type of food, right? You can get toppings on it that can sweeten it up, like peppers will sweeten it a bit, pineapples if you go that route, ham, stuff like that. But Espresso's puts, I don't know if they still do it. I don't know if they just do straight sugar now, but they used to put orange soda in it. And that's how they'd sweeten it up. And it was just so sweet. I've had pizza down here that's like that. It might be Marco's. There's a place down here that is sweet and it's good, but it's not like overly sweet. And I've had espressos and that shit's fucking sweet. That is super sweet. And I'm like, dude, this is not how pizza should be. Granted, they have their own niche. People, you either love it or you hate it. So like they have like their diehard customers, which is a good thing for them, but it's fucking terrible. And I'm like you, I'll die on that hill. I will argue that all day long.
You ready for the segue of the century?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just like how some people love the pizza, but more of them hate the pizza. We have Lee Priest, who we love his physique, but he never really won the big one. So here is some of
dude.
Here's some of his rankings. You ready? Like that segue? That was pretty good right there.
Yeah. Let me look it up so I can go along with it. Wait, are you on the Wikipedia?
No, I'm on bodybuilding.com, and it has
let me pull that up. I'll share the screen.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
let me see.
I have a share screen button.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me see.
I don't know if you could or not.
Where is it? Here we go. Boom. Are you? Yeah. We're able to see it now.
Go ahead.
So this is from his
it's shit ton.
Earliest point, which is the 1989.
Whoa, wait, scroll up. How many are right here? Holy shit. Oh, starts. Okay, sorry. All right,
this is all.
I thought it was the other direction.
No,
okay,
no.
So this is, so he started. This is IFBB though. He's a pro by this point.
Correct.
Mr. Australia, he was already a pro.
Correct.
Yeah, so this is when he started competing in pro shows.
Yeah. But Mr. Australia, obviously, he's from Australia, so that's where his start kind of comes from. And then he just, there's so many ranked, like, placed finishes on this list, and there's just no, like...
He looks like he took a break from 1991 and 1992, he took a break.
Yeah.
To compete those 2 years. He probably had to put on some size.
That's probably a
See, look, he was IFBB lightweight. Yeah, amateur championships, IFBB lightweight, and just IFBB open. So he was pretty light at the time.
Yeah. Also,
so he probably just put on size.
Look at this Grand Prix stretch. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Holy
9,
shit.
10, 10 shows in 1997.
But this is also like, that's how they used to do it. Ronnie talked about it, how they would literally take a train. He said they would take trains around Europe and compete in different shows.
Yeah.
Like he would do, that's how they used to do it. That's not how they do it now, but that's how they used to do it. It was show. Like you'd have you get your size and you get lean and you just maintain that. And you just hit show after show after show after show and you just do your water cut.
Yeah.
And that's how they used to do it. And that's how, like, Ronnie talked about it in his, like, I think it was his, The King documentary. And they also interviewed Kevin Levrone, who was at the time destroying Ronnie back in like the late 90s.
Yeah.
He was destroying Ronnie in every IFBB pro show they're competing in. And they were competing in every single one basically like this. Like they would hit a ton of them like this. And that the night before the Olympia that Ronnie won, I think it was the night before, he went to Kevin. He said, I don't know what to do, man. Like, I don't think I'm going to place well. And he said, relax, man. You look great. Relax. We're all in this together. Whatever he was talking about. And he said that's when they started taking shots of vodka.
Yeah.
And that's what dried him out. So, and that's when he started winning. But yeah, it was like that, like a year stretch of a ton of shows. But I mean, respect to that. Like you compete once and it's like, I've said this before and I'll keep saying it. You don't know you like bodybuilding until you compete once. And you have just commit. Like you got to commit. It's expensive to do it. It's very expensive. Usually it's a couple $200 to $300 just to compete, let alone everything else involved. But you got to commit. And once you commit and you do it, you can tell if you like it or not. You either love it or you hate it. And I can tell you for sure, prepping for a show fucking sucks. The shit sucks. Your life evolves around it. Like I think about it now and I'm like, wow, I like cardio, but I go to do cardio. I'm like, this shit sucks. But then I remember like every single morning waking up and doing 45 minutes of cardio during prep.
Yeah.
It's like my 25 minutes, 30 minutes now is a drop in the bucket to what it was. So like it sucks. It really does suck. It's very hard. It's very difficult, but it is so rewarding. And so like respect to anybody who can do something like that, like 10 shows in 1 year. That is insane. And he did the Olympia. And look at his placings. Like they're all top 10.
And another thing,
6 in the Olympia.
The Ironman, is that so? When I read Ironman, I'm thinking strongman. Is he also in?
Well, technically the Ironman is that like long marathon.
Yeah.
So it's the very long running, cycling, and swimming. It's a triathlon, I believe.
But
and it's extremely long. It's like it takes like a week.
But
to do
I don't think that's this.
They stopped doing it in 2009. I guess the Ironman, they stopped doing it in 2009. The last one to win it was Silvio Samuel Savior, I think. Let's see, who do we know?
Here, I'll let you take over the screen.
No, it's fine. There's nobody else that we know really in this lineup in 2009. Sean Ray won 1990. Ken Wheeler won 95 through 99. Sorry, 98. Chris Cormier, that's a big one. He won 99 through 2002. So it was just another show for them to go to. You know, it's just another one of those IFBB Pro shows. It was just called the Ironman, where the Grand Prix translates to Grand Prize. So Grand Prix. That's why they call it racing. It's Grand Prix, and that's why these shows are called Grand Prix. It's the Grand Prize. It's IFBB. It's probably like Spain's biggest show. It's Russia's biggest show. It's probably like that's why it's like that. Granted, now we don't have Russia in the IFBB Pro Series anymore. They're the IFBB Elite Pro. That's where Michael Krizo came from. So that's why we don't see anything Russian or like Eastern Europe, like Hungary. I'm pretty sure Hungary is over in IFBB Elite Pro. So they're their own division. They're just called the IFBB Elite. They're completely separate from the IFBB in the U.S.
Yeah.
I'm sure our European listeners will know more about it, but it is a separate organization, just with the same acronym of International Federation of Bodybuilding, which is, I don't think they own a trademark to it, but they own a trademark to the IFBB Pro name, I think now. But IFBB Elite Pro is now Russian, all that. That's why you don't see any more Russian stuff now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the Ironman was a pro show. The last one to win it that we know actually is 2008. Phil Heath won it in 2008. Lee Priest won it in 2006, which we'll see in a minute. But
actually, the list for Lee Priest ends in 2002 on this one.
Oh, shit. This says Lee Priest won overall in 2006.
Unless there's... Yeah, no, that's it.
Wait, what?
Here, I'll dump the screen.
Let me see. Let me look up like his competition history, because I mean that website looked pretty shitty. So like it may not be. He competed the first time at the age of 13 and won.
Yeah.
Apparently. Yeah, he was born in 1972. His first competition was 1986 School Boys Classic Sydney. Here, I'll show you. I'll share the screen. I'll turn off the audio. There we go. Yeah, see, so 1986, his first ever show was in Sydney, Schoolboys Classic Sydney. So I guess it's just teenage, something like that.
Should I start organizing?
See, look, so this goes.
Should I start organizing school shows? Get bodybuilding and the,
I mean, you probably could. I think
nowadays.
I don't think you should.
I think nowadays that would be considered grooming.
I mean, I think what you could do with it is you could do like you could call it like a flexing competition or something.
Yeah.
And it helps you like, if you want to do this show, or like you just host it at the school and the parents can come and whatever. And any of the kids who want to compete in it or do it, kind of like a talent show, whoever wants to do it, they have to sign up, and they also have to do like some like after school program or something.
Yeah.
Or like do like exercise or go to the gym or something like that. Or like something like that would be kind of cool. Cause like they have like skiing programs like that. Not that there's an event at the end, but they have like skiing programs where like, on Fridays or whatever, we go skiing. I used to do it with Monty Tech, or was it Monty Tech? Maybe it was might have been Gansett. I think it was Gansett. Gansett had one. It was a skiing thing, and you'd go once a week, and they would drive us up to Mount Wachusett, and we go skiing for like a few hours, and then my parents would pick me up.
I'll have them. I'll have them do like their own routines and then have call outs.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could just do something like that just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did NABA Mr. Universe, I guess, and he won in 2013, PDI, Night of Champions. So 2006 was really where he's like stopped competing. I don't know what NABA is. Let me look that up.
That's got to be some kind of Universe, like Champions Leagues type thing, because 2013 is.
I guess it's like
well past his.
Yeah. So you know what it was is, so PDI, NOC, somewhere. Either I don't know. Let me look it up to see if this is like, because I don't know what NOC is. NOC New York. Let me see. I'm only sharing one tab. That's why you guys don't see me searching. Oh, they fucking misspelled it. It was NPC. They misspelled it. It's supposed to be NPC right here. So you know what I bet was his IFBB card expired after the show, right? And he didn't re-up it. So he did the NPC New York and the PDI Night of Champions, which I bet is a amateur. Oh, it's a pro show. So it's not IFBB, but it's its own pro show. So he probably just paid something to get in or whatever. But NABA is also, it's like National something Bodybuilding Association or something. It's in the UK. So it is like a amateur. It's like National Amateur.
You're coming through Super Robot.
Oh, must be my internet.
Yeah, it's from sharing the screens. I think too many tabs.
Okay. All right, one sec. Let me close out some tabs. Yeah, my RAM was high. Is that better now?
Yeah, way better.
All right, yeah, it was too much RAM. I don't know why my Edge does that, Microsoft Edge. But yeah, so NABA is like National Amateur Bodybuilding Association or something. It's in the UK. So somewhere in 2006, I think somewhere around here, his IFBB Pro card expired is my guess, and he just didn't want to like pay it again and re-up it. So he started competing amateur shows and winning, and then he had a big break, obviously, between 2006 and 2013, and then just stopped after 2013.
Well, imagine you're coming off a career like this, and you're like, well, I'm just gonna go hit it against the amateurs. Screw it. Like,
yeah, just go. That's like wreck the amateurs.
That's like if me in my teacher sense was gonna go and just step on the floor with the middle school basketball team.
Yeah, just go wreck them. Let me see if I could find his 2013. Yeah, look, he actually looked really good. I wish I could, share this tab instead. Let me, one sec. Share this tab instead. There we go. See, look, he looked really good in 2013. Like, look at that. He totally deserved it, especially if he's competing in, I mean, that's what, 10 years ago. So he's 40. Could have been Masters. I'm not sure if he did the Open or not, but
yeah.
Masters, he would wreck if he looked like this in Masters. So, I mean, he looked great. NABA, Universe, Lee Priest. I guess he won overall, but he looks great. At the age of 42, 41, 42, somewhere around there, he looked great.
It's pretty good.
So, especially men's open. Men's physique, you'll see guys who look like pro level for much longer. There's a guy I know off the top of my head right now. He's like 45 and he still looks insane. You know, he's still competing at the pro level, but that's also, it's a much smaller size and much easier to maintain. Something like this is way more difficult, but yeah, so I guess he did win the Ironman Pro Arnold Classic in 2006. He got 6th. And then the Grand Prix in Australia, he got 2nd. So that was his last like pro show, was the Grand Prix in Australia. But he's a really good source of information, especially if you just want somebody to tell it like it is.
Yeah.
He doesn't hold anything back. He talks about gear and stuff like that. And what I like about his gear opinions a lot of time is that he's very much more about, so like a lot of guys who don't talk about gear are probably on a shit ton. That's why they don't talk about it. But he talks about it because he's very much a less is more type of person, which is how gear should be treated. Less is almost always more. And I mean, you know, anybody who takes drugs, who's had, I mean, it's all over my family. Addiction's all over my family. And when you build up a tolerance for something, it becomes more and more dangerous, you know? Mm-hmm. So if you keep your tolerance low and don't just keep increasing the dosage to get better results, it's much better for you in the long term. And really the results are going to be diminishing returns the more you take. You know, it's some of the most mid physiques out there will be on a shit ton of gear. And there's guys I've seen, they talk about their gear usage, and there's videos I've seen guys take fucking 10 grams of gear in the off season and they get destroyed on stage because they're just full of water. Their guts extended. Like they just look like shit because they took so much shit. It's like that. Okay. So like that 19-year-old, right? He's probably on a lot of shit. He looks great. Phenomenal for 19. He looks better than 99.9% of even pro bodybuilders, to be honest. But he's probably taking a shit ton right now, and his genetics will only promote. So like at 19, any guy on gear cannot have that physique, but his physique has matured very, very young.
Yeah.
So he's not going to last that much longer in bodybuilding in comparison to like his age. Like he's probably going to be done mid-20s to late 20s at most, because it's just his physique's good. He's peaked. Like he's going to peak way younger than most guys. So like that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at age. Like that's one of my biggest comparison issues, is that I compare based off age, and I shouldn't be doing that, you know, because there's guys who peak at different ages, you know, and my time may just not have come yet for me to peak. And sometimes it's just something that just needs to click. And, you know, I filled out a lot better, but sometimes it's just, you just need some age, you need some density, you need some age. And the best bodybuilders out there have all been in their mid 30s competing, you know. Like I said, Ronnie Coleman started winning the Olympics at 32, you know. So it sucks when you see some guys like, oh, he's like 19 or 20, 21, 22, and he looks insane, but it's like you never really hear from him after that. It's not about getting your pro card. It's not about competing at the top of whatever you're competing in. It's what you do with it that matters. And a lot of the pro guys will say that it's not about getting your pro card. Your pro card is just a milestone. That's just a stepping stone. It's about what you do with that pro card that matters. And sometimes getting a pro card is all people want. That's all that they ever wanted to go for. And now they can say they're an IFBB pro or the pro bodybuilder, but competing at the pro level is a different story than getting your pro card.
Yeah.
And I think that's like where that 19-year-old is. Like, he got his pro card, but he's not at the pro level or competing at the pro level yet. I mean, he looks great. He could probably do well in pro competitions, but he's not competing there yet. And a lot of guys who do get the pro card, especially at a young age, aren't ready to compete in the pro stage yet. It's a different level. You know, it's everybody who's at that stage has earned the same achievement you just did. Granted, you did it a lot younger, but they did it 10 years ago, and they've had all that time to put on size, to get leaner, more dense, more mature muscle. So it's about what you do with it that matters. Same with these individuals who have influence. And that's why we do these influencer reviews, because it's not about the number of people that follow you. It's about what you do with it that matters. And there are people out there that are, to me, a hindrance on the community. And just because they have a lot of followers doesn't mean that what they say is true. Some of the best people out there, some of the most knowledgeable people out there do not have a big following. And it's a damn shame. You know, like one of my favorite guys to watch for just training is Johnny Shreve. He reinforces a lot of the stuff that I know. I don't need to watch a lot of training videos anymore, but he's got a decent following, but not nearly as much as he deserves. That's why I preach him. You know, same with Lee Priest. I think he deserves more of a following than he has. You know, Sam Sulik deserves exactly what he has. I think he's right in that space. Like, I'm surprised he has as much as he does because of his long form videos. You know, his training videos are like 45 minutes long. I want to see like a 10-minute video. I want to see like what you do for each movement, the sets, and you're done. Like, that's what I want to see. But like that's his niche. It's who he is as a person. So he has exactly probably where he's going to stay. Like, I don't think he's going to get 20 million followers or 20 million YouTube subscribers, whatever. I think he's going to start to plateau, but his followers are his diehard fans, you know, and a lot of the stuff that he has to give out is very knowledgeable. And somebody made a good point. They said, I forget what it was. It was something about, I think it was some shit about anime, but it was something about like how his assumptions for everything for training has been intuitively correct. So like the way he sees things in training has just been correct, the way you should be doing it. So he's like, oh, I start with compound movements and then I end with higher rep, more isolate movements that require lower weight because of the effort and blah, blah, blah. And that's really how you should be doing it. You should be doing the heavy compound stuff at the beginning and then ending it with, you know, isolate, light movements, you know, cables or whatever that may require more energy. Like if you did heavy, it requires a ton of energy. So if you're doing lighter, it's less energy on these isolate movements, but it's going to feel like more energy because you're already fatigued. Yeah. That's what his assumption was. But that is a correct way of doing it. So a lot of his assumptions are correct. So I like to do these influencer reviews, especially on people who deserve the praise and the communication and people talking about them, you know, because again, that's what they deserve. And Sam Sulik's one of them. Lee Priest is one of them. We'll talk about more, I'm sure. And I know that a lot of our listeners, you guys like it. I'll put up a poll. If you guys are still listening, I'm going to put up a poll on this episode and see if you guys enjoy the influencer reviews. A lot of our influencer review episodes, you guys seem to enjoy, so we'll keep doing them. And if you guys have any suggestions on who we should do next, I'll leave that in the episode as well on Spotify. At least if you guys are listening on Spotify, I'll leave it in there as well. So let us know who you guys want us to talk about. And I'll also put up a poll if you guys enjoy it too. So the influencer reviews, I think it's just good to talk about people who deserve it.
Yeah.
So a little spiel there. I go off sometimes, but Lee Priest definitely deserves it. I think you guys should check out Lee Priest content. And
go do some tricep poses, everybody.
Yep. Do some side triceps or something and recreate the
side
chest. But all right. Well, we appreciate you guys listening. We'll be up next weekend with a new episode.
All right, y'all. Have a great week.
We'll see you guys.